Well, good evening. Could we gather around and sit, and you can finish off the food as you sit at your tables? I got to say, I am awfully proud to see so many people come out for this panel. As Dean of the college, it's always a great thing to welcome home our alumni. But to see so many of you show up is just terrific, and thank you for doing so. I'm going to get out of the way and let Rachel Singer, our Assistant Dean of Students, come up and moderate the panel. But I just want to say that I hope that the alumni here are looking carefully at what we're trying to do at the college. And I hope you're proud of us. We are certainly very proud of you. And I want you to keep holding us accountable, looking at what we do, and helping us as we go forward in the years to come. So with that, Rachel, could you come up?
Hello, everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you all for coming. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rachel Singer. I'm the Assistant Dean of Student Services here in the College of Urban Affairs, and I'm proud to be a graduate of our MPA program, and I will not say how long ago. But I'm very glad to be here in the college, and it's so great to see all of you coming out to connect with the college, connect with us, and connect with each other. Our goal for this homecoming season was to welcome our alumni back, but also to give you a chance to connect with our current students and share stories about how you got where you are. So I'm not going to spend any time talking. I'd like to clear the way for our panelists to share with you. We have eight distinguished, we may have 9, but currently we have 8 distinguished panelists who hold a variety of amazing positions throughout the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. And I will ask all the panelists to introduce themselves, and then given our limited time, we tried to bridge the gap between getting folks after work, but also clearing the way for our classes that all of you know start at 6. So we wanted to get professionals and current students. So we don't have nearly as much time as we'd like. So I've given all the panelists the questions, and I will invite them to either answer a question or pass on to the next person so we can get through as much interesting information as we can. If there's any time left, we will also open it up for questions. But even if we don't have formal panel time to answer questions, I encourage all of you to stay after the panel and continue to mingle, get to know each other, tell us, share updates about what you're doing. So first, I'd like to ask the panelists to introduce yourself, tell us what degree you got from the College of Urban Affairs, and then what your current position is. And also, please make sure your microphone is on. Thank you. First panelist.
Step 1, check.
Yes.
My name is Tanisha Briley, and I got my MPA from this wonderful college in 2005. I'm outing Rachel because she came out around the same time. And I currently serve as the city manager for the great city of Cleveland Heights.
My name is Kathy Teuscher, and I got my BS in zoology from Ohio University, but continued with my master's in environmental studies here at CSU and graduated in 2012. I'm currently working as an environmental consultant for TRC Environmental. We have an office right here in downtown Cleveland, and I look forward to visiting the campus quite often. Thank
you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bryce Sylvester. I'm the Director of Planning and Development for the City of Lakewood, proud Muppet grad in 2011, and very happy to see all the friendly faces tonight.
Good evening and welcome everyone. My name is Stephen Love. I'm a 2011 MPA grad, and currently I work as a program officer at the Cleveland Foundation, which is the world's first community foundation.
Good evening. My name is Grace Kilbane. I'm the director of the Cleveland-Cuyahoga County Workforce Board and also of Ohio Means Jobs, Cleveland-Cuyahoga County. I graduated with my Master of Science in Urban Studies last century. I was actually the first graduating class when it became a college, which was 1977, so I was very young at the time, however, I might add.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Fowler. I'm currently the City Administrator for the City of Norton. I graduated from the Levin College with a Bachelor of Arts in Public Safety and a Master of Public Administration.
Good evening. Calvin Williams. Graduated in 2015 with a degree in Public Safety Management. I am currently the Chief of Police for the City of Cleveland.
Good evening. My name is Jason Russo. I graduated with a Master's in Urban Planning in 2009, and I'm currently the Neighborhood General Manager for the Van Aken District, and I also serve on South Euclid City Council.
Thank you all. This makes me so proud. I'm so glad to be here. Our first question is, could you tell us, and as I said, if you don't want to answer a specific question, feel free to pass it on. What was the most significant influence on where you are professionally, an important job, person, or experience that you had that got you where you are today or steered you in that direction?
So city management is not a profession that most people grow up as little kids thinking, I want to be a city manager when I grow up. Unless, of course, you have a family member who've served in that capacity, and particularly being from Cleveland, it was not a field that I was even familiar with. I would say the most significant influence on me pursuing this career was Professor Cy Murray, who taught here at Cleveland State for several years. He is a giant in the city management profession. And I happened to have him in my first MPA class where I thought I was going into nonprofit management, and I think he had different plans for me. So here I am today.
Well, I have to say probably one of the most influential things that I learned in the opportunities I took advantage of this in the program that I was in environmental studies is we took a variety of classes. We took classes that I probably wouldn't have taken on my own or that I had no background in. Being more of a science, technical kind of person, I never took a class in business or finance or some of these other classes that were required to take. And I found that extremely valuable. For one thing I learned is to understanding stakeholders in any kind of environmental problem, and just from a variety of different perspectives. It's very, very important. I learned about the art of compromise. I work with a lot of regulators, a lot of city officials in many cases, developers, private sector industries, and everybody has a different way they're framing the problem, and it's very important to learn and understand that and take the time to do that. In the art of compromise, everyone has to give up something, and everyone has to give something as well. Thank you.
Two very tough answers to follow there. The most significant thing for me was I actually did some volunteer work in Costa Rica. Actually, right before I started at Levin, I spent 2 weeks in San Jose rebuilding a community center for a really impoverished city, neighborhood really outside of San Jose. And it essentially convinced me to come back, leave the private sector, go back to school. I will tell you, that was a very cold room with my father and mother. I'm leaving my well-paying job to go back to school, but I go back to that decision point very, very frequently because it set me on the career path that I'm on today.
I think I'm going to have to build off of Bryce's answer in saying that there was, for me, more of an experiential moment that I think helped shape that direction professionally, and that really began with an internship in my undergraduate career at Baldwin Wallace. The Cleveland Foundation has a summer internship program in which undergraduate students work in the nonprofit sector for the summer, and it really provides kind of a pathway or onboarding to understand what that nonprofit sector role looks like and what are some of the diverse career opportunities there. And for me, it ended up being really an experience that I think jump-started a whole different mindset for me, in which I didn't even anticipate having an interest in the nonprofit field or the community development sector. And really that whole orientation shifting from kind of a law school track to community development to eventually philanthropy, kind of full circle. And Now I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to have managed the summer internship program in my role here at the foundation. So it was a little bit of a shameless plug for those undergrads or students in the room. But it really, truly was a formative experience in that I think it provided that opportunity to kind of pivot or see an interest and I think fundamentally shape a pathway about eight or 9 years later that's taken me back to the foundation.
Thank you. Well, the most significant person in my career throughout these past many years is up on the wall here. Her name is Roberta Steinbacher. I knew her before I came to this college, and I was active. At the time, I was director of the Witness Victim Service Center for Cuyahoga County, and we were doing lots of things around family violence, battered women's shelters, women's space back then. So there was a lot of activities in the community. I got to know Roberta. She's the reason I came to this school, because I wanted to go to law school, which I did afterwards, but this was better than law school. But the significance is that then she hired me when she went to Columbus to work for Dick Celeste when he became governor, and that's how I got into workforce. And then I was hired by the feds, and I spent most of my career in Washington until I came back home to Cleveland. And through Roberta, I've met all these wonderful people, Tom Campbell in the beginning, I'm looking at Wendy and Dean, and the dean over here, Bob Gleason, the Levin chair, who's helping us out on some pretty exciting work that we're doing at the Workforce Board. So I've been able to keep contact with this school has been a very important part of my career journey, and it's mostly the biggest influencer is Roberta.
I, like Tanisha, had the opportunity to study under Cy Murray. His exposure to the city managers throughout the region was probably the reason that I am in the position I am in currently. Just the interaction, the networking, the opportunities to meet those individuals in city management, experience their profession.
I think I took a different track to Cleveland State. I was a student at Cleveland State in 1986, and I'm sorry, 83, and I actually left Cleveland State in 1986 to become a Cleveland police officer, and had a great career, didn't look back for a while, didn't finish my degree, and then in 2006, the mayor of the city of Cleveland, Mayor Jackson, gave me an opportunity to join our command staff. And you don't realize what you don't know until you are thrust into a higher leadership position where you actually have to lead hundreds of officers. Prior to that, I had been a supervisor with the division for about 10 years and led a lot of unit operations and bureau operations, but now I'm a command staff member with approximately 200 officers under my command. I considered myself a good police officer, but I wasn't a good manager. And that's what prompted me to actually come back to Cleveland State as a 40-something-year-old adult male with a wife and kids and working on a grandchild to actually pursue my degree to get that knowledge from an academic background. I had the practical knowledge, but not the academic part of it. And it allowed me to eventually become the chief of the Division of Police, I think. Because the mayor had the confidence in me to make me a commander and then an assistant chief, and in 2014 the chief. And I credit my education here at Cleveland State with that development.
So I would say mine really was more of an experience. Back in 2013, I had been out of school for about 4 years and had developed a career in political campaign management and civic engagement. And I remember Bryce came to me after like a young professional event, and he said, you know, the city of Lakewood's hiring a city planner. And I was like, yeah, I heard about it. It's a pay cut. I'm not sure I want to get into that. And he was like, you should apply. You should definitely do it. And I did. And I did get the job. And I spent almost 4 years working with the city of Lakewood, working with Bryce. We started in cubicles, and now Bryce runs the place. But that experience, I can't even tell you how much that has influenced my career, because Mayor Summers really gave Bryce and I a lot of free rein to actually do management projects throughout the city. You know, I was managing some of the police, actually doing some of our Lean Six Sigma projects, and then I ultimately being involved in municipal government for several years. I said, hey, I want to be a city councilman. So I decided to run for office, and now I'm on city council. So is that experience in my 3.5, 4 years in Lakewood has really, frankly, defined me in a way that I didn't realize at the time, and I'm glad I took that risk and that pay cut to take on city planning and municipal governance.
Well, I'd like to mix it up and start down at the other end for the next question. So next question, what recommendations do you have for current students or recent graduates who are pursuing a career like yours?
So I would say take risk and be open to options. Like I said, I spent 4 years after graduating Levin College not working in city planning, even though I had a degree in it, but in working in doing political campaign management and doing door knocking and grassroots organizing through civic engagement, it gave me the skill sets I needed to be a planner. So while I was not acting as a physical planner, I did have the capabilities, and I was building that skill set and that tool chest of skills that I needed to be successful as a city planner. So have an open mind.
I would say to definitely try to get as much practical knowledge out there and experience as possible. Like I said, I came back to college after almost 20 years of being out there in the job force and doing a lot of things and actually enjoying what I was doing. And once I came back, I was able to kind of look at both worlds and basically kind of bridge that gap and apply a lot of the things that I was learning second time around to my actual work experience as a police officer.
For the city management profession, it's a little bit different, but I recommend volunteering. I talked to the ICMA student chapter last evening about volunteering for the OCMA conferences, and with that you get networking opportunities that you can explain to folks like myself why you should be hired by us, and also we can explain to you why or why not you should be in city management.
I'd say network. The thing, I came back to Cleveland about 3 years ago, and one of the things that just really impresses me is that graduates of this college pretty much run this place. I mean, it's like, you run into them everywhere, and they would be willing to help you anywhere. You've got great resources right here in the college with your professors and others here that are connected up with all kinds of activities in the community. And so I think that just, try to use everything that's here and people that really want to help you and care about you and have ownership in this college and pride in it.
You kind of stole mine. Darn it. Yeah. Well, I would just say, kind of building off of that, it's really important at this, particularly for the recent grads, think about trying to identify as you start building those networks, find that those one or two really strong connections, and build that mentorship relationship, and know that it goes both ways. It's not a one-way street either. It's really, how do you contribute to that individual, that professional, and how's that professional then going to be paying it forward to you as you move forward. So I think networks, but then also really within that, trying to find those 2 or 3 key relationships that I think are going to be pivotal as you move forward in your career.
So I'll do a double piggyback here, just to solidify the importance. This school is going to offer you an incredible opportunity to say the following sentence: I'm a graduate student at Levin and I want to learn from you. There is a ton of power in that sentence. Use it very strategically. And to Stephen's point, a mentorship relationship, I'll say it's 90-10, and 90% of it is on you. 10% of it is on your mentor, and they will help you if you go that 90% of the way. So I would say the biggest thing for me outside of the experience I shared with you before is that I spent a lot of time working on close relationships with people that I looked up to, and they continue to pave paths in my career today. So I would say find maybe 2 people, to Stephen's point, and then really, really work at that relationship, because it'll pay dividends for you in the future.
I would have to say never stop learning and never get too comfortable in whatever your field is. When I first started my education in the environmental field, the EPA was only a few years old, so obviously a lot of things have changed since then, and you kind of know how old I am now. But it's really important to learn. There's always constantly new technology. There's new and better ways of doing things. Even just today I read something about certain kind of poplar trees can help remediate trichloroethylene in the soil. Who'd have thought? So it's just continue that thirst for knowledge, and there's a lot of resources right here that you can take advantage of.
Thanks. I have 3 quick pieces of advice. Number 1, all of you that are here, I don't have to tell you because you're coming to these types of events. Especially if you're a current student, make the time. Most of our student body are non-traditional students. You've got family, you've got a job, you're coming at 6 p.m. and you come for that one class. The connections, and you've heard 3 of us mention faculty members who were instrumental in our career development. That's because we made those relationships happen, and we did so by coming to these types of events and getting to know our professors. Current students, you might realize some of the names we mentioned either on faculty today or formerly, they wrote the articles that you're reading for class. They're the authors of the textbooks. We are blessed to have giants among us, and do not let that go to waste. That's led to almost every single connection I've had. I stayed connected with the college, so that's my second piece, after I left. And I actually ended up in Davenport, Iowa for a little while, and I came back to speak to class. I spoke in Nancy Meyer Emmerich's class. I spoke in Cy's class. Show up when they ask you to show up. And that led to me now being able to teach the seminar in city management, which I teach every spring semester here. So keep those connections going and give back to the college. And then I would just say we heard be open and take a risk. I'm a Clevelander, born and raised, not too far from this college. Never imagined I'd be in Davenport, Iowa, working on a field that I hadn't heard of before I stepped foot in this college. I took that chance because, 1, I had some mentorship by Cy Murray, and he told me to go. But even applying was very scary for me, to leave home, to leave what I know, and that was the single most best decision I could have made for my career development. So be open and take risks, and if you leave, come back.
Well, don't turn it off yet. That's a perfect segue into the next question. And so if there's anything else you'd like to say, but the next question is, what was your first job after completing your Levin degree? And if it wasn't in your current field, how did you get to your current career path? And then I think that's all we have time for after we get down the row.
So I'll pass. I'll pass. I'm sure there are more interesting stories than mine.
Well, mine's not too interesting since I took the long road to get my master's, and I'm still with the current employer, so I haven't changed much. But it did help me in my current position quite a bit.
I'm going to take a pass, too, because I think there's a good question coming up.
I'll stick around. You can learn more about my pathway afterwards.
I think I already answered.
Oh, that was the dud question, apparently. Don't like that question. Okay, so, well, anyone down there, down at the other end, first job? Everyone's okay. Yeah. So for the final wild card question, there are two. We've got 2 remaining questions. So down the row, pick whichever one you want to answer. Say a little bit, because we only have a few minutes before we need to continue mingling. But of course, classes start at 6. Tell us either what was the most important part of your time at Levin, or what suggestions do you have for current students to get the most out of their time here? Let's start at this end with Tanisha.
Okay, so I'll add to my answer from before on how to get the most out of your time here. I would add to that getting active and involved. So there was already a shameless plug for the ICMA student chapter. I'll add to that again. But get involved. It's difficult, I know, but it is so worth it. My involvement at the college led to, so I can answer both, led to me finding myself in Senegal because I wrote a paper with Dr. Vera Coombs. So Cy Murray used to do this international public management program. I said, how do I go to Senegal, Cy? I want to go to Senegal. He said, I don't have any money for you, so figure it out. And I said, well, how do I do that? And he said, I don't talk to your advisor. So I talked with Dr. Coombs. She said she was working on a paper. We could write a paper together, and I could help her with that. We submitted that paper. It was accepted. And I found myself in Senegal studying abroad and learning about public management in Africa, and the college supported that. So get involved, connect with your professors. I can't say that more.
And I'll be quick. One of the most important thing I think I learned here at Levin was the student body. As being an older student coming in, a lot of the students in my class, my colleagues, were quite a bit younger. But the level of talent and skill, especially in today's current political environment, with being environmental issues being a personal concern of mine, gave me a lot of hope and optimism for the future. The other thing I want to say is we're right here in downtown Cleveland. I've lived here all my life. I love it here. We've got theater, we've got sports, we've got music, we've got a lakefront, we've got everything right outside our door. Please take advantage of it.
I'll throw something in there that was important to me, and that is through your curriculum, challenge your mind. So if there are topics that you are not familiar with, but don't necessarily think that's going to be your career path, don't shut off a class just for that reason. I'll tell you, just in public service alone, if that's an industry, an area that you land, I think nonprofit actually fits this profile too. You will work on a host of topics, and the more comfortable you are with changing fast and being conversational about multiple topics, the better off that you're going to be in any role that you take, certainly in the public service, public sector, and I would say nonprofit fits that bill too.
I think I'm going to build off that a little bit more and even say that while you're here, find as many applications as possible to the academic work, to putting that out into practical use. Just going back to my MPA capstone, I think for me that was an incredible opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Zingali. It was really an incredible way to, not only enhance academic knowledge, but then also really build out some work that was impactful to the community development field. And I think just that immediate connection that can happen here is what I think it was one of the most rewarding parts of my experience. I just also want to make a plug. I think we have a clipboard somewhere floating around. Stephanie Molnar, current student here in the MPA program, has a clipboard and also works with me at the foundation, and she has some information about our summer internship program and our public service fellowship, which we'll be recruiting for actively later this fall. So any current students, please see Stephanie over there, and we'd be happy to send you more information. Sorry for the plug. Had to do it.
Good. I think that for me, when you say what was the most important part of the time, it's really the education first, and I echo what you said about, getting out of your comfort zone a little. There are classes that I took that I would not have picked if I didn't need them to get my degree, like research methods and statistics, for example, that, believe it or not, I've used constantly as a public administrator, because especially when I was in Washington, our programs are evaluated by these, big research firms that we spend lots of money on, and they do these, random assignment things, and they're always telling you the gold star, and you can actually talk to them about it and challenge some of their assumptions and things like that. So I think for me that this college, the education that it gave me, and then it really launched me on my career, as I said before, by the connections that I've made, and was able to really have a very successful and wonderful career. But then when I came back to Cleveland, it helped me reconnect up here in Cleveland too. It was this college. So, capitalizing on what this is, and that it's not just, you graduate and you're done. It's like I'm still coming back trying to get help in figuring out difficult problems, and it's here, and it's great, and it's something that I would really urge you all to, develop and kindle because it's very valuable.
Quickly. The most important part of my time in Levin was the friendships, relationships, and networks that we all built. Many of you that are standing here, sitting here, we went to school together. So I think that's probably the most valuable experience, and I encourage everyone. We have a great network. I think you've heard that here. Further build our network to further our progress as a university.
I think for current students, I'd have to kind of echo the director and my friend from the Cleveland Foundation sentiments. Put that academic knowledge to practical use early. Don't wait for graduation. Don't wait for a job similar in that field to come along. Put that knowledge to work. As the director stated, there's a lot of what we've done with all the classes I've taken at CSU that translate over into the public sector. With my deployment, with analyzing the deployment and how effective it is. So definitely put that academic knowledge to practical use as soon as possible.
So I would say it's very hard to go last because pretty much everyone has already provided great comments. But I would say get to know everyone, not just the professors, but the person sitting next to you in class, because Cleveland is a big, small town, and you are going to be working with the person that you're sitting next to in class at some point in time. So it's really important to get to know them and develop a relationship with them. And then I'll echo what Bryce said, I think because we're from the same cloth, but try to become as well-rounded as possible. Oftentimes when you're interviewing people, people say, I'm a planner, I'm a planner, I'm a planner. And I'm like, great, I know you're going to be a great planner, but what else can you do for me? Which allows you to be a much more attractive candidate when you're looking for a job is, I'm a people person, I'm a planner, and I do this, and I do this, and I do that. Because you're just providing this value proposition for your employer saying, hey, I'm getting a planner and so much more, right? So make sure that you do that, and you can do that by getting out more and getting to know people and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations so you learn new things.
Well, I would like to thank everybody on the panel and in the audience for coming this evening. Staying connected to each other is what makes this community as valuable and enjoyable and warm and welcoming as it is. And as you've heard, and as many of you know, you all help each other at all the stages of your career. So please stay connected and stay as long as you can this evening, reconnect with each other, catch up, and thanks again for coming.